Duane Keefe D. Davis might just be the dumbest gangster in history. For nearly 30 years, he successfully outran the most famous, heavily investigated murder in American music history.
Prolific rapper and actor Tupac Shakur is dead at the age of 25.
Rap star Tupac Shakur died last night after a brief life in a rough business.
Shakur was shot 4 times after leaving the Mike Tyson boxing match in Las Vegas in a car driven by Marion Suge Knight, the head of his label.
After the 1996 drive-by assassination of Tupac Shakur on the Las Vegas Strip, the police hit an absolute dead end. The forensic trail degraded, the witnesses disappeared, and the investigation froze.
27 years. For 27 years, the family of Tupac Shakur has been waiting for justice. We are here today to announce the arrest of 60-year-old Duane Keefe Davis, aka Keefe D, for the murder of Tupac Shakur.
Appreciate your cooperation, okay?
Keefe D had effectively won the ultimate criminal lottery. As the former shot caller for the Southside Compton Crips, he survived the deadliest era of hip-hop gang warfare, outlived almost everyone else in the car that night, and walked away a free man. All he had to do was keep his mouth shut and disappear into history.
We was just all in the car together. Just say that.
This was the white Cadillac.
Yeah.
He would be going to prison for being stupid and talking too much.
This is the only case that I know of that one of my interviews is actually going to be part of the trial.
So you brought this motherfucker back out here telling the story, and listen, until he did that, we didn't know.
He voluntarily and very loudly walked right back into the spotlight. The tension of this story does not come from a brilliant police investigation. No detective cracked this 30-year cold case. No sophisticated forensic technology unearthed buried evidence in the desert. Prosecutors completely concede that if Duane Davis had not enthusiastically bragged about orchestrating the murder in high-definition internet interviews, no one would have ever been charged.
He starts yapping, writing books, go on podcasts, talking too much. We have his own words, but we want to use his own words and what he is saying on these podcasts together to help us in our trial.
He was not outsmarted by the Las Vegas Police Department. Instead, he was destroyed by the irresistible, gravity-like pull of monetized outrage.
Do you regret the book and the interview?
Yeah, I was just after the money, and they said I was covered. I did it for the money.
A hardened street veteran whose early survival depended on the absolute code of silence simply could not survive the psychological trap of the internet attention economy.
Okay, so what was Tupac and Suge's reaction when Orlando started shooting up the BMW?
Suge just ducked his head, and the first bullet went in his head, then the next one's hit him. It was like he was doing a breakdance trying to jump in the back seat or something. Yeah. Like, damn. Yeah, what the fuck?
After 30 years of freedom, he willingly handed law enforcement his own murder conviction, beautifully wrapped in a podcast microphone. Welcome to Red Line Theory.
Appreciate your cooperation, okay? Stand right here in front of you.
To truly understand the exact friction point of his downfall, we have to dissect the modern ecosystem that actively paid him to destroy his own life. Transitioning from physical street power to digital influence requires a very distinct type of currency, and Keefe D accurately, albeit fatally, realized that his proximity to a legendary unsolved murder was a highly monetizable asset. In his later years, rather than quietly enjoying his freedom, having claimed to have left the narcotics trade in 2009 and retired due to illness, Davis embarked on a deliberate, heavily publicized, and highly lucrative confession tour. He spent his final years as a free man, bragging to anyone who would point a camera at him about his role as the orchestrator of the September 1996 drive-by shooting of Tupac.
Mike Tyson, how you feel about him saying that he wish he had 5 seconds in the room with Tupac killing?
And I only need 1 second with you, dude. Well, you better leave me the fuck alone to keep boxing, dude. You a boxer. You guys not no fucking case. All of a sudden, everybody want to be killers now.
The mechanics of this monetization strategy relied heavily on the dark, symbiotic relationship between high-traffic digital platforms and the true crime publishing industry. Keefe D became a highly sought-after, recurring guest on platforms like Vlad TV, an immensely popular YouTube channel specializing in urban culture and street history. In these long-form, highly viewed interviews, the raw bravado of the street veteran intersected seamlessly with the cold economic demands of the internet.
When the incident happened, there were 4 people in the car. You're the only living person. What witnesses were saying, though, was that when they saw the arm stick out the window and do the shooting, it wasn't a skinny arm. It was a bulky, hefty-looking arm.
Who the witness?
Can't say.
Only witness it was Suge Knight and, me. Only 2 persons left.
Do you ever worry that they'll try to bring that case up again and charge you with something?
I don't think they can do that because the U.S. Attorney gave me that deal.
The modern digital ecosystem does not pay anyone for their silence. It pays premium, life-changing rates for outrage, nostalgia, and exclusivity. The climax of this digital media blitz was the 2019 publication of his tell-all memoir, Compton Street Legend. Within the pages of this commercially sold book, Keefe D systematically and permanently dismantled his own plausible deniability. He laid out the exact motive, establishing the Las Vegas shooting as a brutal, calculated act of retaliation. He explained how, just hours before the murder, Tupac, Suge Knight, and an entourage affiliated with the Mob Piru Bloods had brutally assaulted his nephew at the MGM Grand. He explicitly wrote in the memoir that they could not let record company studio gangsters treat them like that, cementing his exact role as the aggrieved shot caller who mobilized his crew for immediate, lethal revenge.
This all started about a snatching of a chain of an individual who is related to Duane Keefe D. Davis. Tupac and his crowd see the individual who has stolen the chain from somebody, and the long and short is, they take the beating, the brakes off of him. And after he gets his beating, he basically goes back and tells Daddy, Duane Keefe D. Davis, tell everybody, I just got beat up by Tupac and his gang. And then, of course, what ends up happening, the theory is Duane Keefe D. Davis, everybody who is in his inner septum of this gang sees Tupac, Suge Knight, and that's why we're here.
He openly admitted to sitting in the passenger seat of the white Cadillac as they hunted down the Las Vegas Strip for Shakur's vehicle. When they finally pulled up beside the BMW, Keefe D claimed he saw Tupac reach beneath his seat for a weapon, prompting Keefe D to pass a .40 caliber Glock 22 into the back seat of the Cadillac. He wrote that one of his guys from the back seat grabbed the Glock and started firing, providing the exact narrative framework that state prosecutors needed to establish his complicity in the murder.
So let's talk about what happens next. Based on what the book says, Zip gave you guys a Glock, and you guys tossed it in the back seat.
We was just all in the car together. Just say that.
This was the white Cadillac.
Yeah. He's hanging out the window like he was in a parade.
Tupac.
Yeah, he was.
So what happens next?
And we just came and shit.
But the pursuit of clout and YouTube ad revenue always demands ever-escalating stakes to keep the audience engaged. To maximize the book's commercial viability and secure complete algorithmic dominance, Keefe D introduced explosive allegations. He publicly claimed that Sean Diddy Combs had desperately wanted Suge Knight and Tupac Shakur dead. Keefe D alleged that Combs offered him a $1 million bounty directly to carry out the hit, turning a story of personal gang retaliation into a massive narrative of corporate assassination.
You said that Puffy called and said, was that us? And you didn't say nothing.
I didn't say nothing. Yeah, you're right.
You guys never got any money?
Never.
For anything?
Nothing. Not even a pair of Sean John drawers. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. It seemed like Puff do that though. He seemed like every time some bad shit go around here, it look like it's some shit on the grass. He don't step around that shit. He get away from that bullshit.
This raises a terrifying question. Why would a seasoned gang leader, a man who successfully navigated the violent underworld of Los Angeles and survived decades of intense police scrutiny, willingly trade his freedom for digital metrics? The answer lies in the deep psychological subjugation executed by the modern attention economy. Davis was completely seduced by a systemic structure that inherently obscures its own legal dangers. He actually believed he was outsmarting the culture by cashing in on his violent past, failing to recognize that the internet ecosystem was systematically extracting a pristine confession that no physical interrogation room ever could. He traded the rest of his life for a temporary surge in clout and a fraction of ad revenue.
Keefe D is now facing life in prison after turning down a 10 to 25-year plea deal. He's 63 years old. What do you think will happen at the end of this trial?
I think that he talked himself, he walked himself into that indictment. The book, everything, all the interviews he did. I don't think he did himself a favor.
The psychological delusion that enabled Keefe D to speak so freely, consistently, and explicitly about his direct role in a capital crime reaches its peak in his catastrophic misunderstanding of a complex legal mechanism. The origin of this fatal error traces back to 2008 when he participated in a series of confidential police interviews with a joint federal and local task force. This task force was actively investigating the intertwined murders of Tupac Shakur and the notorious B.I.G., desperately seeking to unravel the complex web of gang affiliations that fueled the violence.
Once he realized we knew what we were talking about, we were dropping names and talking about events that we witnessed, then he knew that there were some serious problems. So immediately we advised him, get yourself an attorney and meet us down at the U.S. Attorney's office and let's talk this out.
During these intense, closed-door sessions, law enforcement officials offered Keefe D a proffer agreement. In the realm of criminal law, a proffer agreement, often referred to as a queen for a day letter, is designed to extract actionable intelligence from uncooperative or legally exposed witnesses.
And so that was the arrangement, that he would sit down and tell us everything we wanted to know about anything we asked, and that he had to be entirely truthful, or else he would be charged.
It guarantees that the statements made by the individual during that specific meeting will not be used against them in the government's case in chief during a future criminal prosecution. This narrow, highly conditional agreement became the bedrock of Keefe D's cognitive dissonance. He fatally misunderstood the architecture of the American legal system. Keefe D operated under the foolish belief that the 2008 proffer agreement provided him with a permanent, impenetrable, bulletproof shield against any future prosecution. In his mind, the state had effectively granted him an eternal, irrevocable license to discuss the assassination publicly, forever, without any fear of consequence.
Do you ever worry that they'll try to bring that case up again and charge you with something?
I don't think they can do that because the U.S. Attorney gave me that deal.
Immunity is where you cannot be prosecuted. You're immune from prosecution. A proffer agreement is simply an agreement where you have Fifth Amendment rights. It's within the context of that immediate scenario.
When Keefe D chose to step out of the shadows and boast about the crime in a commercially sold book, on heavily monetized digital platforms, and in national television interviews, he completely bypassed the protections of his prior immunity agreement. The authorities in Nevada did not need to breach the 2008 transcripts to build a compelling case against him. They simply needed to purchase his book on Amazon, stream his interviews on YouTube, and log his public admissions into evidence. The clinical irony of this scenario is absolutely staggering. For nearly 30 years, the justice system was entirely powerless against him. The physical evidence had degraded, the key witnesses were either uncooperative or deceased, and the trail was thoroughly cold. Yet Keefe D meticulously built his own cage, forging the iron bars out of monetized interviews, podcast microphones, and memoir royalty checks. The Proffer Illusion allowed him to sleep soundly at night, fully convinced of his own invulnerability, while he was actively handing the district attorney the very evidence they had sought since 1996. Law enforcement did not have to catch him, they merely had to sit back and wait for him to finish publishing his own indictment. The sudden arrest of Keefe D in late 2023 entirely shattered that proffer illusion. As his trial finally commenced in the late summer of 2026, reality violently breached his carefully constructed delusion. Facing one count of murder with a deadly weapon, a charge that carries a potential life sentence without the possibility of parole, the former shot caller found himself completely trapped in a legal nightmare of his own doing. His current, panicked legal strategy is a sheer testament to his pathetic thought process. His defense attorneys are now burdened with the impossible task of attempting to unring a bell that has been echoing across the internet and the publishing world for years. Their primary defense relies on highlighting the lack of traditional forensic evidence from the 1996 crime scene. They argue that the prosecution has no physical evidence directly connecting Keefe D to the shooting.
Ask yourself, what facts do they have to even put Keefe D in a car in Las Vegas on September 7th, 1996? What facts? When you look at the video that happened at the MGM, look for him. Orlando's in the video because he's getting beat up. Find any of those other individuals on the videos of the MGM. Look for evidence that shows that Keefe D was even in Las Vegas on the night of the fight. Receipts, credit cards, a picture of him standing next to somebody else, maybe watching the fight from another casino. Something, give me something. In the book, you're gonna learn that Keefe says that he was at the fight. He was sitting on the second row. He was sitting with all the celebrities and he's dressed in his finest gear. There's not one iota of proof that he was ever at that fight.
The defense now claims that the narrative presented in his book was a heavily fictionalized account meant purely for entertainment.
But really at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself if what they're saying is really truth or fiction, fact or fiction. And so you have to ask yourself the question, if I just say things, is that going to end up being one of those things where I'm going to be hemmed up for a murder if I just keep repeating a fiction? If I keep repeating that? The answer is no. You have to corroborate everything I say in order for it to be true.
And the argument that they're giving is that not only was the book co-written, and he claims that he had a ghostwriter, so he didn't exactly know what was in there, but he also embellished or fictionalized elements of the book to help sell copies.
They want the jury to believe that these are not actually his words, despite his name being stamped in bold letters on the cover. Furthermore, the defense has adopted the scripted pivot. They claim Davis was simply lying for the money, the fame, and the clout.
Did you have anything to do with the murder of Tupac Shakur?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I wasn't even in the matter. I wasn't in the matter, period.
Do you regret the book and the interview?
Yeah, I was just after the money, and they said I was covered. I did it for the money.
But did anyone tell you maybe it's not a good idea to do that because they might arrest you after they hear you say that or read it in your book? Like, did anyone close to you say, not a good idea?
That was the ghostwriters. I didn't write that book.
They seek to portray him not as the ruthless gang leader who orchestrated a historic assassination, but as a retired, aging man who simply spun tall tales to support himself financially. This desperate strategy highlights the ultimate paradox of the entire saga, exposing a terrifying stupidity that defies logical comprehension. Who falsely claims to have orchestrated the murder of a globally beloved cultural icon, a crime that has gripped the public consciousness for 30 years, just for podcast clout and book royalties? The prosecution naturally views this backtrack as legally weightless and inherently contradictory. They intend to dismantle the fictionalized entertainment defense by pointing out that Keefe D gave numerous independent media interviews explicitly stating that the contents of his book were 100% accurate.
The book tells the story about Davis' admission, about himself, but it also tells the story of Duane Davis telling about his nephew's involvement in the murder, about Big Dre's involvement in the murder, about Terrence Brown's involvement in the murder. And this is a problem for Duane Davis, because that meeting was supposed to be secret. And now his cooperation with federal authorities is open to the world.
He says basically, you co-signed on the veracity of the book. And he's like, what do you mean I co-signed on the veracity? And the judge like hits play on the recording. This is you saying, hey man, everything in the book is true. Or do you want the real truth? Go read my book. So he says you have co-signed on the veracity of the book. So the prosecutors can use that against you.
For the family of Tupac Shakur, this chaotic legal backtrack is just an exhausting continuation of 30 years of unresolved trauma, as they are forced to watch a man who screamed his guilt publicly for years suddenly claim it was all just a profitable performance. While the individual tragedy of Keefe D's self-sabotage is legally compelling and culturally fascinating, the final analytical takeaway of this narrative must pivot entirely away from the defendant as an isolated individual. Keefe D is merely a symptom, a highly willing vessel for a much larger pathology. The ultimate antagonist of this story, and the true architect of his demise, is the broader, inherently toxic system of the internet attention economy. We exist in a digital ecosystem that so ruthlessly incentivizes viral content, trauma porn, and true crime confessions that it successfully achieved what decades of federal investigations, grand juries, and highly funded police task forces could not. It convinced the hardened street veteran, a man whose early survival and power depended entirely on the ironclad criminal code of silence, to voluntarily self-incriminate on a global stage. The video platforms that hosted his confessions, the publishers who printed and distributed his book, and the algorithms that pushed his interviews to millions of viewers bear absolutely no legal liability for his subsequent arrest. Yet they profited immensely from the friction, the outrage, and the tension his words generated.
Cover the trial, lad. You owe us that one.
Man,
you owe us that, lad. You brought this motherfucker back out here telling the story. And listen, until he did that, we didn't know.
Yeah, it's actually kind of crazy because people have always accused me of my footage is getting people arrested and so forth, but this is the only case that I know of that one of my interviews is actually going to be part of the trial.
The attention economy does not care about truth. It does not care about the nuances of limited legal immunity, and it certainly does not care about the strict statutes of the Nevada Code of Law. Keefe D truly believed he had mastered his environment. He thought he was playing the algorithm to fund his retirement, extracting wealth from his own notorious history while hiding safely behind a misunderstood proffer agreement. But the algorithm was always playing him. The internet offered him a microphone, and in his desperate, ego-driven quest to remain relevant in a world that had moved on, he used it to order his own demise, speaking his life sentence into existence, one monetized view at a time. This is Redline Theory. Thank you for watching.